Every day is a new beginning. We are going to be talking about some interesting things today. So those who are wanting to get right into it, go ahead and at least move to the 1 minute. I'm going to see if we can get some more people on here since we are doing this live today. But we're going to be talking about the history of America and actually some of the history of, well, the world and how we got to where we are. And this is hopefully going to be interesting and impactful as we're getting closer to that 1 minute section. And hopefully everybody's staying warm, having a good day. Got some snowflakes coming down outside here. But let's get going. Are you ready? We're going to title this The Story of Early America, the Church, the State, and Christian Values. So again, welcome everybody. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the algorithm, and you know how that all works. So today we're going to walk through the history of, well, how we got here. Explore how religion and government has shaped the earlier settlers of America. We're going to look at the Catholic Church, and you can't look at the Catholic Church without looking at the Church of England. And talking about the Puritans and the Pilgrims. We're also going to talk about why early settlers wanted separation between the church and the state, and yet their government was founded on Christian values throughout history. Even when people try to push against Christian values, the values of the Christians usually get stronger. That is just usually what happens. So let's dive into it. We're going to start with the Catholic Church. Okay, so the Catholic Church was the most powerful religious institute in Europe for centuries. It had influence over not only people's faith, but also their daily lives. In the early 1500s, the Catholic Church had a lot of control over religion and political matters. So they were condensing them, political and religious matters, and it was ruled by the Catholic Church in the 1500s. People were expected to follow its teachings and its practices. Many felt that the church was too powerful and was abusing its positions, and this led to the Protestant Reformation in the early 1500s, where Martin Luther and others challenged the Catholic Church teachings and practices. And then from that challenge came the Church of England. King Henry VIII of England played a huge role in this history. Okay, so it was the 1500s. He wanted a divorce. Well, first he wanted to get married, but that wasn't a problem because the Pope said, hey, it's okay. I know it's your ex-sister-in-law, but your brother's dead and she's a widow, and your first wife only gave you a daughter, so we understand that for the monarchy, you want a man. And so that is the history. Now, the Pope granted King Henry VIII the ability to go ahead, even though the biblical part, the Bible actually said that that was forbidden. But he got permission, and we'll find out why he got permission and why he did not get permission. See, King Henry got permission because at this time, a lot of the Catholics were being kind of frowned upon because the Pope and them were actually allowing you to, if you had enough money, you could buy your way into heaven, etc., like that. And the woman that King Henry VIII wanted to marry was actually a queen. Actually, she was a princess because her parents were the Queen and King of France. So when she got older and she didn't give King Henry VIII the son that he wanted for the monarchy, well, guess what? He then wanted a divorce. But the Pope was now stuck between two kings with influence. You had the King of England and the King of France. And the King of France's daughter was now the queen with the King of England. And so the Pope is like, wait a minute, I know you want me to grant you permission to get divorced, but like they donate a lot of money to the Catholic Church. And this could cause me a lot of problems. So who's giving the most money here? Well, guess what? The King of France won because the Pope was like, I am not going to grant permission for you to get divorced. Well, King Henry VIII says, well, then fine. Why should Rome rule us? And why should we be under Catholic Church? We should open our own church and call it the Church of England. So that is exactly what he did in 1534. And that was the beginning of the English Reformation. So England's official religion became separate from the Catholic Church, year 1534. So the Church of England still had many Catholic traditions, but it also allowed for more freedom in how people worshiped over time. However, many people that started worshiping then felt that maybe they wanted to start their own religion. So it was kind of like opening a Pandora's box. So then from there, we got a lot of other religions like the Lutherans and the Baptists, and everything came from there. And so some of those were actually going against the Church of England and said, guess what? You allowed us religious freedom, but now this Church of England is not working for us. So we're going to separate into our own because we think you're still too much like the Catholic Church. So this group of people called themselves the Puritans, and they felt that the Church of England did not go far enough away from the Catholic Church. They wanted the church to be purified of the Catholic traditions. So that's where we get the Puritans. They faced persecution in England because they wanted to worship in a way that was different from the official Church of England, which again, they wanted to be totally different from the church, the Catholic Church. They believed that true Christians should follow the Bible closely and live more of a simple life, godly lives. Because of this, they decided to leave England and to seek freedom to worship as they chose. Now, the Pilgrims were a group of Puritans who left England in the early 1600s for a new life in America, and they, of course, sailed on the Mayflower in the year 1620 and settled in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The Pilgrims were seeking religious freedom, and they wanted to worship without the interference of the Church of England and the King of England. And by this time, King Henry VIII was not the king. It was a new king named James. And there was an uprising and religious fights going on and a lot of chaos at this time. And he thought, I'll give this group of people who are radical, in his view, I will give them permission to go over because they were actually being funded by a corporation. Now, you can go look this up yourself because as I was doing some of this study, I learned a lot of stuff here. But this corporation decided that they were going to fund the Pilgrims to come over here, and England gave them permission to do so because it would enlarge the colony. Then they could colonize. So the Pilgrims, again, were seeking religious freedom, and they said, I want to worship without the Church of England and the King of England telling us what to do. We want to search and we want to see in our own way. So they arrived to America. Again, they created the Mayflower Compact, which was an agreement among the settlers to govern themselves based on Christian principles. The document is often considered one of the first steps toward American democracy. So why did they want to separate the church and the state? It's also very interesting when you go study this, you'll see that they were also still sending money back to England. So they came here with England's blessings, basically saying, you know what, go practice your religion over there. Just stop causing chaos in England. And so this happened for a while, but then they wanted that church and state separation, which is, like I said, one of the main reasons they left. And many people did back when they were in England under King Henry VIII and on. They did start facing persecution. Some of them actually did get killed if they didn't agree with the official church. So religious freedom meant that people could worship as they pleased without the government telling them how to worship or which church that they needed to belong to. Because by the time they left, remember, there were a few different denominations already there in England. This ideal became important as the American colonies grew and many different religious groups began to settle in America. While the settlers didn't want freedom from religion, control by they wanted freedom from religious control by the government. They also believed, though, in Christian values, and that Christian values should actually guide society. So they had, like, some believed in Jesus Christ, but they all seemed to agree, the early founders all had Christian values. They believed in a deity that was above them with the moral basis that we should do good and be good. So although the government was separated from the church, Christian values influenced many laws and decisions that we live under today. The government founded on Christian values, even though the separation of church and state was important, the early government of the United States was still strongly influenced by their Christian principles and moral values. They didn't all agree on everything, but they agreed that we had to have some moral basis, that we need to do good. We shouldn't kill. We shouldn't steal. Those were what the founding fathers believed on. So this helped to guide the country's laws and government. And basically, if you do a little history here, they wanted that separation because they didn't want the government, that hierarchy from the Catholic Church that transitioned to the Church of England. They did not want a hierarchy. They didn't want somebody at the top, which the Church of England, the top of them was the king, and the Church of the Catholic Church was obviously the Pope. They said, no, we need to all have a say. And so the Declaration of Independence mentions the Creator and states that all men are endowed with certain unalienable rights, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They put that in the Declaration. They agreed on that. And the Constitution mentions the importance of religious freedom, but the ideal of Christian values being part of the country's foundation was very, very clear. I want to get that across. For example, God's blessings were often invoked in public speeches and documents, and they believed, just like the Israelites believed in the promised land, they believed America was the promised land. That's where they were going, and they were going to find the freedom to worship God personally, on a personal level. So now this is interesting. In God we trust. Over the years, Christian values continued to play a role in American life. One of the strongest signs of this was the phrase, "In God we trust," which was actually added to the U.S. coins in 1864, and it was during the Civil War. This was a statement of faith, especially during difficult times. It reminded people that no matter what happened, they could trust in God. Today, "In God We Trust" is still obviously printed on our U.S. coins and our bills, reminding everyone of the country's Christian heritage. So, secular challenges. Throughout America's history, there has always been people who tried to push against the Christian values that founded the nation. These people are often called secularists. They believe that religion should not influence government or public life. Secular groups have tried to remove Christian symbols from public places to prevent prayers in schools. But even when these groups challenge Christian values, Christian beliefs have remained strong in America. For example, when people try to take down religious symbols like crosses or nativity scenes from public places, there have been Christians who have fought back, saying that their faith is an important part of America's history. So there's been that Christian pushback. The Christians in America have been known to stand firm in the beliefs and push back against efforts to remove religion from the public life. It's like they're peaceful till you mess with them. Whether it's in schools, governments, or cultures, Christians often speak out when they feel that their values are being attacked. Because again, they don't look at it like you're attacking them personally, as you're attacking what made America America, and you're attacking their God, their right to serve their God the way they see that. And that's why they wrote that separation of state and church. The Bible church teachings and the Christian morals have influenced many of the decisions that shaped the. So in today, early America was shaped by a desire for religious freedom and a commitment to Christian values. The Pilgrims and the Puritans wanted a land where they could worship freely, but they also wanted to live by the teaching. Over time, through separation of church and state, it's become important that Christian values still continue to influence the country's laws, government, and culture, even when secular forces have tried pushing back against the Christian values. The nation has often faced this, but the Christians' values always return back. They always do throughout history, and a lot of times more, which we see with the coins being "In God We Trust." Today, Christian principles still play a significant role in the identity of the United States, and the United States has played a significant part in spreading the word throughout the world. So it is the faith that helps shape the nation. It will be the faith that helps to keep shaping this nation. Thank you guys for taking a journey with me through some American history today. We've explored the foundations of the nation, how religion and government were connected, and why Christian values have continued to influence the country. Remember, no matter how much things change, the values on which America was funded will remain a strong part of our identity. I want to thank you guys for supporting, and remember, the sun always rises. So I'll see you in the next video.